So one of my favorite things is when people are like,
welcome everyone to this episode of Cyber Confidential. This is going to be a hot one. For any of you that have been watching my LinkedIn channel recently, you'll know that I'm all about the human-to-human sales process. No business signs a managed services contract. At some point, you're going to be sitting across from a human being, and that human being wants to become your client. That's why this is a human-to-human sales, H to H. So I went and I found a thought leader on human-to-human sales to bring it to you to make sure that we can get that into your brain. You're joining me live in the field. I'm in Kansas City right now in a tiny little meeting room in an MSP's office because I'm doing human-to-human sales all week. On this episode, I brought in Anita Nielsen from LDK Advisory Services. Anita, the expert on human-to-human sales for MSPs. Tell us all about yourself, Anita.
yes, first, thank you for having me, and yay you for being on site, being human to human. Love that. So I have been in B2B sales and sales support for, over 25 years. And I like to say I started when I was 10. And MSPs were kind of where I began. I worked for an MSP for quite some time, and then a hosting services provider, et cetera. Got really into sales enablement. Ultimately, at the end of the day, my heart is in helping salespeople go out there and sell in a way that's human, with good intention, so that they create customers for life while they're making bigger, better deals, right? That's the other thing. I could tell you all the things about me, but you can go read about that. I want us to get into what we've got to share with the gang today.
Heck yeah. Okay. So we're talking human-to-human sales. I am here doing human-to-human lead gen, going straight to the human being and saying hi. I read your Beat the Bots book, which is above your right-hand shoulder, when I was driving from one MSP to another in Northern California. Killer. I think there's so much chatter about artificial intelligence, AI, automation. We forget the fact that these are human beings that we want to talk to. Let's use this as a breakdown of some of the fundamental principles. Give us the 3 fundamentals of how to be better at human to human, not just sales, but engagements, human to human engagements.
Yes. So before I do that, I want to do like a little reenactment of what it looks like if I'm calling an airline from my living room. Okay. So we're just going to do this, right? So I'm calling the airline. I need to change a flight. Okay. Here we go. Ring, ring. Agent. Customer service. No, something else. Help. Can I just get a freaking human? Click. That is what it looks like. And I betcha I'm not the only one that's like that, right? And I think the moral of that story is the more we get bombarded with the things that machines do and robots and chatbots and all of that, the more desperate we become for human connection. Because look, we know how to operate with humans. That's not new territory for us. And so that's why the humanity is the part that matters most right now. When I wrote the book years ago, it was more of like a warning kind of thing. But now it's become, okay, this is real life. You can't hang tight to try to develop this stuff. You have to do it now. And I guess the top principles are, well, I'll tell you the top skills that are involved in human to human selling. First is curiosity, right? The ability to genuinely want to learn and understand a person. Attuned listening, which is just what it sounds like. And then finally, advocacy, which is a kind of a combination of empathy and compassion and all of that in action. So if you can do those 3 things, then you are certified human to human sales professional. But guess what? Those things are not easy. And in sales, a lot of them we've been taught to not do because we've been taught to be so quick about selling. So I think to me, those are the 3 biggies that you have to get really good at. But at the end of the day, if your intention can't be to help your buyer succeed or be successful, you're not long for the sales world, because people are going to have less and less tolerance for people that are in there with commission breath and just there to serve themselves. So that if I had to pick the core principle is to go in there and want to help your buyer succeed. That's how human to human works. It won't work if you're in there trying to figure out how quickly they sign.
Okay, let's go in reverse order. Let's start with empathy. You said compassion and empathy. What's the mix here? Empathy coming from the Greek root of to feel through someone.
Yes. So empathy to me, in the old days, I would have said empathy is the core skill. Empathy, table stakes. enough people have hyped it where now people know that they have to be in somebody else's shoes, right? Like, but that's not enough to be a human to human seller. Just kind of taking their perspective is not enough. Compassion is empathy plus. That's when you have genuine empathy for someone, but you also have a need to want to help them solve their problem, whatever it is. Like, it's intention on top of the, like, first understanding them, right? Seek first to understand, then be understood. Cover those two, right? Empathy and compassion covers empathy in it. Empathy is table stakes. But what happens once you do this is you end up becoming a person that's there to have the back of your buyer. Like, I'll tell you, when I did a survey years ago, asking my customers to, it's a great story, but I won't tell you the whole thing. I asked them why they bought from me because it was part of an exercise my coach was having me do. And in my head, I'm like, oh, because I respond quickly, all these things that I thought wrong. You have my back. I won't fail on your watch. You see the problems before I see them and help me solve them. All things of that nature. So that's what human beings want. They want people that are in their corner. When you have empathy, compassion, and you show that consistently, now you are going to be an advocate. You become what I call a customer advocate sales professional. You are no longer a seller. You are now a person that's in their corner trying to help them handle the drama and the dysfunction that they have to in order to make their decision. So that's what it's about. It's not just empathy. It's not even just compassion. It's those things combined in action, which is advocacy.
I heard you originally say that everyone's, they're given lip service to empathy, to be empathetic. I've seen that with people too. Like, I try and really feel it.
Yes.
And then I say it to the salesperson that I'm with. And when they say it back to me, it doesn't feel as empathetic. So
sounds like a robot.
it sounds like they're describing what empathy would be described as, but then immediately they talk about how to close the deal, which is not like getting paid is your motivation. Getting the problem solved is the client's motivation. Yeah. That answer was focused too much on getting the paid part. What would you recommend as a little, like a quick checklist to check myself to make sure that in the conversation I'm being empathetic and not just, giving lip service to it?
So one of my favorite things is when people are like, oh, I have a script for empathy. It was like, you've literally just missed the entire point ever. The minute it's a script, a robot could do it. Therefore, it is no longer human, right? So empathy it starts with intention, genuinely wanting to know where your buyer is at. You can't meet them there if you don't know where that is. And so it's taking their perspective. So I ask myself, so you ask yourself questions like, okay, I know what this buyer is trying to do. What's standing in their way? Like, what are they worried about right now? What is working against them internally? Those types of questions to get into the emotion that's in their head, because empathy is about the feeling, right? It's not just about like what the checklist in their head is for vendors to fill out. It's about what they're feeling. Are they worried that they're going to lose their job, right? What's at stake here? And genuine empathy starts with intention. If you don't have the intention to want to help your buyer succeed, I don't care if it's a script, I don't care if you've been trained, whatever, it's just not going to work, because they can see that way better than they can see anything that you're actually going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's training yourself to take their perspective. So sit as they are. If I'm doing the job that they're doing, what is the drama? What's the dysfunction? Like, what's on my mind, right? And it's very basic. Ask these questions.
Yeah. I smiled there because I have been doing that. I physically try and sit in their chair because that's, my engineer brain was like, okay, if I got to feel through them. I got to see through their eyes. Okay. Yes. Interpret that literally. Let me at least sit here and look at things the way you look at it. Maybe that'll help me see it the way you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about this too. This is the other part about empathy that is just like a bonus. If you do that, you can just ask a bonus question of like, how did they just perceive what I just said? What's their perspective on what I just said? Right? Like, I'm getting into the 400 level class, but that is the added bonus. When you start doing empathy right, now you can start to see yourself through their eyes. And that means that you can adapt to meet them based on what they're seeing, which is like everything changes when you're able to do that.
Tell us what your take is on the why it's like, this is hard to be empathetic. It's hard not to just use lip service.
Yeah.
Why does that make us better? Someone an amateur may hear this and say, that's gooey stuff. I don't need it. I'm just going to rifle through my script. And as long as I bang enough Play-Doh into this, it'll work.
It'll work. Yeah, and a lot of people have done that for years and they continue to do it, but this is where the rubber hits the road today. Maybe not even when I wrote the book, but right now, if what you're doing, so if a machine can do the thing that you're doing, a machine will be doing the thing that you're doing sooner rather than later. So you better hope that everything that you're doing is something that a machine can't do, because if it can, even faking a script of empathy, look, these generative AI tools right now, they're trying to act empathetic, and it is actually hilarious if you look at it. They aren't, and we know that. So it's almost like you have to make sure. I'm going to go back to intention here. Intention is the most important thing. If you don't have that right intention, even if you have a script, it's not going to work. And taking me literally, like, asking those questions and just jotting down the answers, like as if I was interrogating myself, it's not going to help either. You have to put some thought into it. And that's where we get stuck as salespeople. It's also why we don't listen very well, because we've been trained to control the conversation, control the sales process, right? The problem is nobody wants to be controlled, first of all. And second of all, it's false for you to think that you can do it. You walk in, you can't do that right off the bat. That's something you have to earn over time. And so we've been taught to go fast, like, let's get to the next step. How do I advance? You got to slow down to speed up. And that is a function of empathy, compassion, listening, asking good questions, that type of thing. You can't rush this stuff because it's the human stuff. If it was easy, the machine would be doing it.
That kind of segues into your second point in reverse order and in forward order, which was listening.
This middle, yeah.
Right. Give us some guidance here, and I'm hearing you. It's going into my ears, and I'm interpreting it through my lens of just hitting 300 face-to-face engagements. Every little tidbit you're dropping can remember the one person. I was like, oh gosh, I was so nervous just trying to wait for my turn to speak. I know I was doing that wrong. So you're training me here, Anita. Give me your masterclass mini on before my day of going handing out donuts.
Yes.
What do I have to remind myself on how to listen effectively?
Yes. So first of all, people in general, when they're speaking with someone, they're trying to think of what they're going to say next in general. Like therapists, maybe not as much, but most people will. Salespeople, back to what I was saying about how we've been trained to speed up. One thing I've learned in a lot of years is that no salesperson is ever going to say something that is going to make them look a fool in front of their buyer, period, if they can help it. And so we've become people that are in the habit of thinking about, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say that's going to advance the deal? What's the next thing I'm going to ask? The problem is when you lose out on what they said, you're losing out on what you actually do need to say. You're looking from your perspective, what do I need to say next to move the deal forward? You need to be listening to what their perspective is and what they need to do next. Because trying to direct them on your path it's a recipe for disaster. So we have to teach ourselves to really listen. And that is hard. I still struggle with this because I'm also trained on let's go. Right. So you have to take a step back. And what I teach people is slow down to speed up. Look, the example I usually give is when they're in college now, but for a long time, I lived in a home where I had 2 teenagers and a husband who's a techie. I can barely operate my iPhone on a good day, right? If I went out somewhere and someone listened to me, I was buying any damn thing that they were selling, anything, because no one hears me. Like I don't get listened to. And people love to talk about themselves, but it doesn't matter if they don't feel heard. So what are you doing as a salesperson to make them feel heard? More than what you're doing active listening, how are you making them feel heard? And that goes to like the things like repeating a little bit of what they say, summarizing what they say, body language, nodding, things like that.
I've heard from a couple of people about the repeating the last 3 words
Oof, yeah.
as like a simple way. It's almost like a crutch word, like crutch words being filler words. Maybe we should try and retrain ourselves to have filler words that are more conducive to effective listening, where we just filler by repeating the last 3 words that someone says.
That's so okay. So I love that you said that. So there, I forgot, and I'm going to forget the name. It's Never Split the Difference. The person who wrote
Chris
that book,
Voss,
Chris
because
Voss.
it's exactly where it's from. I
Yeah,
read it
exactly.
4
So
weeks
that's
ago.
it's so. I mean, it's so good. But remember, that's negotiation. He's writing a book about negotiation. If we want to apply it to listening, if we want to talk about something like that for listening, it's very simple. If you catch yourself not listening, you just say, "I'm not sure I understood that. Can you help me understand? Can you walk me through that again?" Here, bonus on that, right? One, they know that you were listening enough to ask for them to repeat it. But two, most people don't expect a salesperson to ever say the word "help me understand." Regardless, we're in a stage where still people expect salespeople to come in and be the know-it-all. So right away, when you're going to it like that, here's a little part where you're becoming a partner and an advocate already, right? So you got to kind of think of it that way. So yes, the last three words are really powerful in negotiation, but I would say for this situation, you earn more trust if you say something like, "Okay, I'm not sure I get that. Can you just explain this part again?" They'll never know whether you heard it or not. They're just going to go, and by the way, you're going to get a lot more detail now because now they're trying to explain to someone who didn't get it the first time. So you actually turn that around into something that'll benefit you. So that's my way to help people when they do slip up. But on the front end of that, you would do something like, okay, and I hate when people do this. They're like, "Here's what I think I heard," because you know that that's trained, right? So I usually say something like, "Okay, let me make sure I got that, this and this and this," and then I ask it as a question. And they'll be like, and they'll say, "Exactly, exactly." And right now, you look like the person that totally understood them, and that is priceless in the sales cycle. So I don't even know if that answered your question, but those are
Yeah,
the two top forces kind of at play.
because I heard that exact thing from Chris. And in his
Yeah.
examples, he
Yes.
just repeated the last three words,
Yeah.
which in the book, no doubt he chose circumstances where repeating the last three words made sense conversationally.
Sure.
Um,
And turn it into question. Yeah.
I haven't gotten, I don't know, maybe I'm not hearing it to do the last three words. I just try and, like, my attempt at recreating that Voss tactic would be like,
Yes.
"Oh yeah, you had issue with this." It's a little paraphrase, and then I form it with intonation, form it as a question.
That's
That's
it.
kind of how I've been doing it.
Or even just start by the way to make it a slam dunk for listening is to just say, "Okay, I think that this means this," right? It's simple. And they'll just explain it to you. And either they're going to say exactly, which is also one of Chris's things like, "You're right." You want to get them to say you're right. But exactly is important. If not, they're going to correct you and give you the nuance, which, by the way, they're not giving to your competitor, right? So they're
Yeah,
giving.
the worst case would be you misheard it. That would be the worst case.
Exactly, but you cared enough to make sure you didn't. Hello, brownie
Right.
points all around, right? So I think in our world, and I don't know if I already said this, but you want to be the salesperson that, oh, actually, we haven't talked about curiosity yet, so I'll zip it for a minute.
We're going backwards.
Okay, let's go. Curiosity. So, and it kind of links into what we're saying here, but the way that sales works today, B2B sales in particular, you go in and you're trained to say something like, "What are your objectives? What are your business goals? Like, what are you trying to achieve?" These are all things that customers have heard. And God help me if one of my sales reps says something like, "What keeps you up at night?" They don't want to be in the car ride back with me because everybody knows that question. And the answer you're going to get a lot of times is my 6-month-old child or my chronic insomnia. What are you going to fricking do about it? Right? People hate customers, they don't like to feel like they're being foolish. So as much as we have our generic questions, customers get tired of answering the same question over and over again, right? So if I've got 4 vendor meetings today, everyone's going to ask me what my objectives are. I'm not going in there like just free form telling them objectives. I've got my list of things that I'm going to tell them. In other words, a script, right? A canned response. If I give that canned response to all 4 vendors, how does anybody differentiate? You can't. You all have the same damn information that was canned. So in order to prevent that and to make sure that you get something that's different, you have to ask like more curious, more unique questions. And the one that I love right now is like, you're there, you're sitting down, you've done your greeting, and you say something like, "Okay, tell me about your plight here at Alpha Corp." Right now, I love this for many reasons, but one is nobody else uses the word plight really on a day-to-day basis. And AI hasn't figured it out enough yet to make it something that everybody says. And so right away, you've disrupted the pattern. They've got an answer for objective. Ain't no one got an answer for plight. And plight is one of those words, it's personal. It's not about the business objectives, it's about your plight, meaning you're going to evoke emotion. There's no way they can answer that without talking about themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what I better know. Like I can know the list of the objectives, I can know the company's goals, all that stuff. But if I know what is in the heart of this person, this is how I'm going to differentiate. And by the way, 3 vendors after me, they're not going to get what I just got. And so I can make that part of my value proposition then. So that's curiosity. It's genuine and it's trying to get to information that is different. Curiosity isn't just writing some really good discovery questions and asking them. It's actually thinking to yourself, if I'm going to help this person be successful, I better know what's going on. And then trust yourself to ask the questions that'll get you there. But that plight one is killer. It's being expanded.
Yeah, what other, give us more tidbits on that. That is a fun one. Yeah. I'm sure there's a borderline where it becomes kind of gimmicky and the elastic band of interest snaps and they just kind of giggle and you lose them. You don't want that. You want to pull them enough with a little fun curiosity, but you still want them to be engaged and not lose them off of the, joke ledge.
Yes, but the thing is, when you talk about plight, you don't go in it as a joke. Like you go in dead serious and sincere. Like, okay, tell me about your plight here. I want to understand where you're at. Right? It's hard to giggle at that because if you're sincere and you're genuinely asking that, they're going to be so like, what the hell? This person actually wants to hear what is going on, not just like the list of objectives and my IT problems. Like, it's just not real. So until it becomes something like, which I don't think it has yet, AI hasn't gotten it, until it becomes something like what keeps you up at night, that's going to work. So we've got that window until everybody starts using it, that it'll work. And I'm in the field, I'm watching my sellers report back after they've asked it.
Tonality is what I'm picking up from that last part. The control of tone makes it so that they feel authentic and not that you're doing it as a gimmick.
Yeah, let's do it. So so think about it this way. How would you say it if you were trying to, if it would sound like a gimmick? What would it sound like if it was a gimmick?
So tell me about your plight here.
Exactly right. See, but when I said it, it was like coming from a place of humility and help me understand, right? But when you said it, it was kind of like,
and my tone didn't match the question.
Well, that and the wheeler dealer, right? Like that's like, and you made the way that you tone, like the tone and everything, you made it sound like the, what's the right word? Archetypal salesperson, right? Like if you say it in a way of genuine sincerity, I think people really respect that and they can tell. So this is another one.
The pattern of this was from the example you just gave reminded me of the book that I was reading this morning, Verbal Judo. And he said that while the waitress will give you a personalized thing, like, hi, my name is Sarah, I'm your waitress today, I hope you have a great day. The tonality fits a pattern that's so impersonalized that it's not personal.
No, exactly.
So that tone with the plight question, the tone you use has to be different from the, hi, I'm Anita, I'm here to introduce myself. It has to match the sincerity that you want to receive with the question.
It has to come from sincere curiosity. It can't be, I'm reading a script. It can't be, I have to ask this question, right? And that's a game you have to play with your own brain, right? Like I'm literally giving you a question to ask. You got to get right with it before you go to that buyer, because otherwise they're going to smell that a mile away. And you don't want to sound like a salesperson who's been given a script. Look, that waitress example, that's perfect. So when you have a server today and they do that spiel, that they've said that 8,000 times that day. And like, they barely aren't even looking at you. They don't even know what it means anymore. So a robot could come do that, right? Like there's restaurants that have robot servers now. Robot can come over there and do the exact same thing and get the exact same response, because I didn't have any emotion talking to Sarah, the server, when she did that shtick. I'm probably not having emotion when I'm talking to this robot, other than, wow, that's pretty cool. And it's creepy at the same time. Right. So that matters. The intention behind it always goes back to intention. The intention, the sincerity, humility, all those words that, we've been hearing for a million years about leadership. That stuff really it's true for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is getting me fired up because I'm after we hang up here, I'm going back and handing out more donuts and I'm thinking, okay, shoot, I can go slower. I think it's so true that I even find myself waiting for my turn to speak because I'm just, even though I do it every day, I
Sure.
still, it's not, I don't know if nerves is the right thing. I feel
You've got
like
a
I'm just,
goal.
what's that?
You've got a goal. You have an objective. You're doing the thing of
Have
trying
the
to get it to
objective,
me.
and it's flipping hard,
Yes. Yes.
It's hard to, because I'm like, okay, the last time you forgot to ask the important question. This time, don't forget to ask. But then
That's right.
halfway through, I'm like, oh, shoot, what was your name?
Yes, because you're trying to
How-
memorize, right? So I love that. So I've done, I do tons of different trainings. And one thing that I'm pretty like serious about is there's methodologies that you can learn out there, right? And if I come to train a company and I teach them methodology and I give them the stakeholder map, I give them the discovery sheet, I give them all this stuff, and then I leave, the chances of them actually using that are slim to none because I'm not there to be in their head and be like, do the thing. But if I teach them how to think and explain to like the nth degree why the hell they need to use that, I trust that almost every time my salesperson is going to know the right thing to do in a situation. There's going to be a moment that happens in any given sales cycle where you just don't have a script for. And so if you know the thought process behind what you're trying to do, I trust that in that moment, which ultimately, by the way, will be the moment that the deal was won or lost, you as a salesperson, because you know how to think, your action and your behavior will align with the outcome that you want to achieve. So
right.
it's really
These
important.
fundamentals, totally. And I'm thinking about this last experiment too, like not experiment, engagement. I zone out sometimes. I don't know if it's a chemical thing or what, but like 3/4 of the way, I
Okay.
start thinking about how good it's going instead
Yes.
of thinking about what the person's saying. I caught myself. I'm like, this is going well. Oh shoot, what did you just say?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and I did what you said, which was at the end with the right tone. I was like, okay, so it sounds like, and I just back briefed what I could remember.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm gonna review my notes. I'm gonna call you back tomorrow at 11 a.m. and we're gonna check in to make sure that I got it right. That was what I did.
And that works. Like, I mean, and you did that at the end, which yay, that's bonus points. But even in that moment where you were distracted, right then, like the minute they stopped talking, be like, okay, hold on 1 second. I'm not sure I understood, like, just I'm not sure I understood that. Can you walk me through it again? Or can you help me understand that better? They will do it. And they will now have known completely that they'll think that you were listening, or at a minimum, they'll think that you care enough to make sure you get it right. Also, like pro tip, take notes. I don't care if you're on Zoom. I don't care if you're in person. You take some notes because people love to feel like their words are being written down. I don't know the real
Yeah,
psychology behind it, but it's a thing. And then that helps you when you go back to do your summary as well.
right. Maybe I should try that. I got to do the Harry Bosch flip book because I do think that has a very clear nonverbal of I am listening.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Yep. And people
Okay.
get trained to like nod their head. If you're nodding your head because you think you have to nod your head, it is not doing the thing that you want it to do. It is making you look like a
Right.
bobble. Bobble, people don't buy from
That's just
bobble.
parroting. There is
Yeah.
some nonverbal to that, but I think I observe people, they just get into the parrot mode where they're just
That's
nodding. And I'm like, I wasn't saying a yes or no. You're not
exactly.
listening.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can nod along to like, but there's a rhythm to that, right? Like you don't just nod like as if like keeping a beat. You're nodding based on what they're transmitting. And you're receiving it and you're nodding. And that's cool. Like I don't care if you nod the whole time, if it's in tune with the words coming out of my mouth. If you're just looking like a metronome, I know you're not listening.
Right.
So it's another telltale sign. I just
Excellent.
think this is one of the best times in the world to be a salesperson, and many will disagree with me. But man, oh man, the things that you are born with, unless you're a sociopath, and I can't help you anyway above my degree grade, those are the value. People are, the more this AI comes out here, the more people are going to be starving for human connection. So it would have been cool if you would have started it, 5, 6 years ago, whenever I wrote the book, but it's okay. Here we are, do it now. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I've been heads down. Like I've been locked in for the past 6 months working on that. Trying to figure out how to get them to get people to where we are today. We don't have the advantage of all that time anymore to kind of, think about it. We got to do it. We got to do the things. And so that is what I'm working on getting through to people now, which is the
Curiosity, effective listening, empathy. Those were our hot takeaways.
Yes.
If
Advocacy.
all of you liked this, Anita's got something for you. If you like this, you're going to like that. Hit us with it, Anita.
Yes. So I am doing a human-to-human sales acumen bootcamp. And historically, I've worked with sales leaders and sold to sales teams, right? That's what I love to do. But I found there's a lot of sales leaders that aren't necessarily investing in their sellers right now. And so, but salespeople do want to grow. I believe the best ones always do. So I'm going direct to salespeople with this thing. And basically, it is going to be talking about how you get really good at the things that make us uniquely human, the things we've talked about. But even before that, I talk about self-awareness, which if I had $1 for every time a sales leader told me that their salesperson isn't self-aware or can't read the room, like I would be retired, right? But the thing is, there's a way to do that, and you can learn it. So I start with that because that's the control panel. You're not even going to know if you're curious or if you're attuned listening or any of that if you don't have self-awareness. So you better get that muscle and that control working first. Then we go into the other things. And by the way, when you do each of those things, you're building a certain amount of trust. By the end, as an advocate, now advocacy is kicked in, you have earned the right to help influence that decision. So that's kind of the wrapper. Because I've earned the right and I'm in their corner, now I can say the things that will help them make the best decision. Obviously, I can't manipulate them, but really provide that influence and guidance that they need. So that's what I'm working on. And there's some really cool stuff. Like I've built out 4 archetypes of buyers. Now, personality tests, if somebody gives me a disc, I don't know how to read it. It's annoying. Like all that stuff is really important. I'm from a psychology background. I believe in a lot of those things. But when it comes to salespeople, and we're selling tech, there's 4 personalities that you're going to meet in the neighborhood, right? That are buyers. So I've broken those down and I've talked about the way that they're different so that, again, it's how you think. And then because they're like this, you need to make sure that you do this. So the really tactical piece of it. And the early beta tests are yay, so exciting. So I'm launching it actually probably the next week or so. I'll start with LinkedIn Lives to go over all of these. So stay tuned. Announcement coming.
You sold your first ticket. I'm coming. I need more training. I'm hitting 30 interactions per day. I need as much training as I can get.
But you're killing it, right? So, I mean, this is the thing. You have to learn the thing and then you have to do the thing. You've mastered that. And that's what matters. And for me, for this class, I tell it I practice what I preach. Only 15 people tops are going to be in each of these. It's over the course of 6 weeks, 90 minutes a week, live virtual. I'll talk with each of the people that join first. So I kind of get a feel for where everyone is. And then this is it. This is who I am on the podcast, who I am in the book. There's no other one. So I'm going to tell you like it is, and I'm going to help you get there. And I can't do that when it's a ton of people. I need to know everyone in order for me to even feel like I'm creating value for my people that are learning from me.
Sweet. I can't wait for you to launch it because I'm itching for more training. As great as it is to read Joe Navarro's 3 books and Chris Voss's 2 books, I think he had, and this verbal judo one, it was really good. Jerry Jenkins and Super Communicators and how to be a mentalist and how to read minds and how to rob banks, which is a physical penetration book.
In case sales doesn't work out, back up.
Oh my gosh, physical penetration testing and social engineering definitely is coming into play here, just with different motives.
Absolutely.
Joe Navarro's nonverbal book's killer. Anyways, even though listening to all your books is good, doing the live practice is the real banger to how it soaks in. So you got me. I'm coming. And I'll get all my donors coming.
Totally. And look, I think that if I am with you and I'm talking to you and I'm saying, here's what we're trying to achieve. Here's what we need them to feel. Here's what we need them to think. You bring the knowledge from all of those, not just it doesn't have to be just what Anita said. If you read 18 books and one of those things fits, go for it. That's what I mean by I'm teaching people how to think. And I trust salespeople were freaking smart enough to figure out what's going to work in that moment once we know what we are really trying to do. And, a little pushing people out of their own way is part of the deal when I'm teaching anytime. So, yeah. But yeah, it's exciting.
Totally.
Excited.
All right. How are people going to find out about that? Tee this up.
LinkedIn. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Anita Nielsen. I don't think it'll come right up. B2B sales. And we can probably in your podcast notes or something put a link. But that's where I'm going to launch all of this. Primarily, I'll be sending some emails out to people I know, but stay tuned. You will get the information on LinkedIn.
Okay. And I'm going to be pumping this out through my newsletter and LinkedIn. And I'm going to be the person bringing the teacher the apple in the front row because I'm desperate to get better. Because
I mean,
putting
look,
all the effort into the volume, if I can get 2% better, oh my gosh, I'm hitting 100 engagements a week. So
like,
2%
how long
better.
have I known you? I've only known you for like a minute, and I've watched you learn already like 4 or 5 things, which, you know, for somebody who's like a sales like person who wants people to learn, that's like a drug for me. Give me all the people that are going to want to do the thing. So yes, more than welcome. Anytime I'm doing anything, I would love to have you there.
Anita and I met each other February 6th on a panel, which was 13 weeks ago. That was the day after my first donutting, which I have now done 25 full days. I've been home for 6 days since we met in February. You've seen me go from one donut thinking, hey, that was pretty good that one day, to now having 300 face-to-face engagements in 13 weeks.
Yes, and feeling it and doing it and knowing how much value you're creating even in just doing that. Yes, love it.
Woof. I've never learned faster.
I love it. That's what
awesome.
we have to be. We got to outlearn the machines, man.
So if you like all that, wait for Anita's launch. Come to her Human-to-Human bootcamp, because that's what it's all about right now. That's how we're going to make the real connections with the leads, is like this, human-to-human. Anita, thank you so much for being on this episode. I am itching. I'm genuinely itching to come to your bootcamp and keep learning, because this is, I feel like my finger's on the pulse now. Both being a business owner and in sales and lead gen, focusing on the human connections and how to engage and get humans to engage with me. This is the most valuable skill that I've developed. Thank you for that.
Great customers for life. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for listening.
Right on. See you on the next episode, everyone.
Enjoyed this episode? Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe.